some technical issues on my end. Sorry for that. I hope it's better now. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Now, suddenly or let's say since the new Mac update, things became a little bit problematic on my end. Yeah, anyway, so if it's not possible, so if you hear me, it's okay. So we're talking about calm under pressure. So that's a pressure situation right now. So I assume I should stay calm. Good. So yeah. Hello everyone. Hello Kai.
Hi,
Hello
Adrian.
LinkedIn. Hello
Hello,
Substack.
everybody.
I have just dropped one stream because I had, as I said, technical issues, which if it streamed to LinkedIn. So if you still listen to that one, anyway, no, talk a little bit about that topic. I do definitely need to restart my computer. Sorry for that. I will be back. You can just stay here and just continue the stream until I'm getting back online. See you in a second.
Okay, is the stream continuing while you are restarting, or? Yeah, hopefully you can hear me. So hello from my side. I'm Kai, and I'm streaming regularly with Adrian. And today we have the topic to stay calm under pressure. And I think this is a topic which is touching everybody at least one moment in time during the career, during the business life, or also private life, whatever. And most of us not only once in a lifetime. So I think it's definitely a topic talking about how can you manage to stay calm if you have pressure in any situation. And we will give you some practical tips or experiences from our side, what we are doing in situations when it's getting highly dynamic and speedy, and everything's floating and changing. And also first thing is to learn to learn about yourself, to have some indicators on yourself. First, to recognize that you are under pressure, that you are losing your calmness, that you are getting emotional or nervous or whatever. And each of us individuals is also reacting more or less individually and on stress, on some are getting nervous, some are starting to sweat, some are whipping with the feet or whatever. And you have one of the best benefits if you learn to recognize what's your indicator to indicate that you have stress. And so, hi Adrian, welcome back. I just introduced a little bit into the topic, but if you are ready to start then, and you stayed calm, if we like we can see, then we could start with the planned agenda from my side, if it's fine for you.
Absolutely. So thank you everyone for the short waiting. I'm just getting up the chats for a second, which is Substack, which isn't loading right now. So it's great. So it is like, that's part of streaming as well. It is very live. And if something happens technically, which actually happens often, I have to say, then things get interesting. And that is one of those things where, I just want to join Substack right now, and it tells me the site isn't loading. Anyway, so let's start without. So if there are some comments, I will find out later. Calm under pressure. So why is it important? We have a lot of pressure in our life. We have pressure basically everywhere, and pressure is a result of external factors, and you are reacting to them. Which means that the fact that some person is getting to you and telling you you need to get this done until tomorrow is not the stress. The stress is what happens when you react to that in a stressful manner, right? So you can decide in that moment, do I want to react like, oh my God, I won't get this done. Now I shove into the night, into the morning, and still be stressed just to provide a presentation tomorrow, which is stressed, which is exhausted, which is negative in basically all sense. And I had the feeling that I need to live up to that quality anyway, even though it was nearly impossible to do that, and to some degree inhumane probably as well. So well, we could decide as well to just go and say, no, I don't care. I just do what I can. I do what I ought to do. I do how I actually, the things I really can do. I just do them. If it's done, it's done. If it's not done, well, I can't do anything about it. It is, in fact, most often not even our responsibility, right? It's very often an external one. We just take on our shoulders into our accountability, while it's actually the accountability of someone else. So that is the first thing. So stress is created in your head, right? So how you react to things. So if you get it done, right? I would even argue that in most situations when you stay calm and you just say, I do it, but I just don't react to the upcoming emotions, to the upcoming feelings I have, the negative ones, then I actually, I will be more precise, better, and can, squeeze more out of the time I have left instead of sitting there and driving myself by carrot or by the stressful factor or by someone I imagine sitting there and pointing the finger at me. So that's first of all what stress actually is. So it is something we project in ourselves. It is something we need to learn to regulate. And I think this regulation was the topic you initially brought up, is the self-regulation under stress, which was the original theming. And I just took calm under pressure for thumbnail because it is the big buzzword buzz sentence. Calm under pressure is not a buzzword, but it is a sentence. Everyone is talking about calm under pressure. So why do you think is calmness under pressure in leadership important?
Yeah, it's as I mentioned in the intro, and you also confirmed in your introduction, it's happening to everybody of us, not only once in a lifetime, but at least once in a lifetime.
At least once a day.
I think I had a good I have a good example for that question, to answer that question from your side, why it's important for leaders. A few weeks ago, I was joining a masterclass in Fuerteventura, and on the flight to Fuerteventura, we had a medical emergency case on board. It was an older man, a gentleman, and he had, don't know what topics, but there was a doctor on board, and he took care of him. And then everything in the plane, also the crew and the passengers, were pretty calm. So the crew acted very calm, and there was no, I think most of the passengers didn't even notice that something went wrong with this guy. And long story short, we had then, before turning onto the Atlantic, the crew decided to make an emergency, well, not an emergency, but an unplanned landing in Sevilla to evacuate this person. And so everything was fine. We got proper information, not too much, but the right amount of information. And this was because of the crew was acting calm. And the team leader, the purser, seemed to be experienced and was pretty calm. And yeah, this is your attitude as a leader is will be reflected by your team. And if you act like you are going to be mad, then the team will do the same. And if you stay calm, then the team has also the chance to be calm or to stay calm and work on solutions and not only seeing the problems. And yeah, this is I think this is one of the most important responsibilities of a leader, to act also as a kind of a filter, but also be aware that your mood, your habits, your behavior will always reflect on the team and will be adopted by the team.
That's a good point, especially so that's first of all the self-control aspect. So you control yourself in order to become a good role model for others, how to act in that moment. But if you act like it yourself, there is a high chance that you will see as a leadership person, which is most often a management role. So you have the management obligations, so the things which are, part of your contract, which you need to do, no matter if you want to do them or not, which makes leadership sometimes difficult and challenging. And in that moment, striking the right balance or finding it is very important. And the more you have self-control about yourself, the more you understand how you should work as a person and what stress actually means, that you can protect the team from unnecessary stress. And even if you have obligatory stress, so things you cannot avoid because there is an issue out there, there's an outage, there's something you need to fix now. There is financial, there is a health consequence, something like that. Then it makes sense to act, especially then, keeping yourself in check and control is extremely important. And it's not the right moment to learn how that works, right? It is the moment where you execute that, because that is the moment where it counts. Because when the team does have 1 hour, 1 day left to do something and needs to be done, you can audit and just, push everyone to do that, maybe threaten them a little bit, that, stressing them a little bit, as we would say. You can do that, but it's actually the wrong way to do that, because people will focus on the stress, because the stress can be immense for a person. It can be even damaging the person permanently if you do that too often. So it makes sure to get the person into a situation, or your people, where they understand it is challenging and it's urgent, but we have it under control. Let's do that together. We are not alone. As a leader, I shield you as good as I can, but you please do what you can in order to solve this. I take care for you to shield the stress away from you, but now, get to work, do what you normally do, just do it very good right now and be on point, precise and focused. So, of course, that sounds like textbook. It's a little bit, in reality, you cannot really avoid stress to 100%. Everyone does feel it, but you can change a lot for the people if you live that on a very regular basis. So if you live that or live through that several times, people understand that and know that there is actually no real consequence behind that, as long as we do what we can. And my leadership person is actually protecting us in that way, and it's getting to a good end. Then people start to focus better on what actually matters instead of the stress. Because the stress, first of all, is an illusion. There might be a deadline imposed of someone else, but we can only do what we can do. So that's what we have in control. Now go a little bit in the Stoic sense. We have not in control the deadline. It was imposed to us. So now we can only do what we can do. And if we are stressed, it won't be as good as if we are not stressed. So, we need to learn to decide and understand that we have power over that, and that the leadership person does have influence, not power, but influence for the people to actually help them do the same thing in the moment. Because if you don't take that positive influence, it is very likely that you have a negative influence on them. So you take away their ability to self-control, because that is what you actually can do. That's one of the issues. A leadership person is not always a positive person. It can be a very negative person as well if done wrong, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And talking about deadlines, it's also good to know that there are two kinds of stress. It's the so-called OI stress, which is a kind of a positive stress, and the so-called de-stress, which is more negative. And the de-stress, the negative one, is coming from external factors. If your boss is threatening you or whatever. The positive, the kind of stress is if you say, yeah, we have this deadline tomorrow, let's push all together and we will manage it. It's more like a motivation, and everybody's like a football team. If they are standing together in the circle and doing a motivational speech by the coach, and then they start into the match, and this is a kind of motivation, or also getting a little bit positive stress. And I think also adrenaline will be pushed a little bit, and this keeps you then awake and active. And so if it's done in a proper way, it can also help. So stress is not always negative.
Mm-hmm.
But it's negative, or it's turning into negativity when it's from external, and you get pressure, or if you're putting yourself under pressure. If you say, oh, if I don't manage this deadline, then I will get fired, or I get a bad recommendation, or whatever, then this can be the same. So sometimes your worst enemy is inside yourself and not your surrounding.
Yeah, because you are an interpreter, so your mind is interpreting the patterns it sees. So if someone tells you in a very short call, you don't know how it came to be, but something needs to be done right now until tomorrow. It is important. And you don't have the entire context. You don't know exactly what the conversations were which led to this decision, which is now imposed upon you. So to do that right now. So in your head, there are a lot of things. So what your subconscious mind is doing that moment is to fill the gaps. That's normal for pattern recognition. AI does that. Our subconscious mind does that as well. So we fill the patterns. But the problem with our ego is if we don't maintain our ego, if we don't maintain our feelings, which we can do, by the way, then the pattern matching and the pattern filling, let's say, the gap filling, is very negative, which means that we think of, oh my God, that's a survival instinct we have. Oh my God, someone is mad at us. Something is bad. Maybe there is one of the three major fears we have is exclusion from a tribe or social structure. So if we're not fulfilling, or living up to the expectation of someone else, we might be excluded. That is, intrinsically baked into our pattern recognition, pattern matching, these kind of things. It's very important to understand. And we need to take control over that. We need to understand in that moment that we don't have the context. So we need to force our subconscious to stop, projecting whatever it wants towards us. So we can take a look at it and say, yes, that could be something, but I choose to react or act in that moment differently to that situation. Just say, yes, I can do that. I can't do now. So if I have 10 hours left, to stick with the deadline example, if I have 10 hours left, I have 10 hours left. then let's use that 10 hours as good as I can. If it's already 20 hours into the day, I might not have 10 hours left anymore because I have work tomorrow as well. So I maybe need to talk to the persons. I need to stay calm and say, we won't make it. If it's not a health issue or something like that, where, it counts or something like that, or is this just a agency thing for a software agency, then maybe we need to move that deadline. We need to be able to talk about that. But for that, we need to understand the issue. We need to understand context as good as possible. And we need to be able to have the control over ourselves. And the maturity, that's another aspect, to actually stand up instead of just following our fear and just start executing. Because if you have a team of people who just follow by pressure, your team will fall apart basically inside your hands. Basically, people will leave. People won't stay in such an environment for too long because it's too much about survival. Survival always sounds like, I have some survival books behind me because I like the idea of survival. I like the idea of bushcrafting, these kind of things, being outside for quite a long time on your own, always prepared. These kind of things, I like them. That's a personal thing of mine. But you are very happy when you're there. I want to dwell all day long in survival scenario because it's always stress. You are always awake. You don't really rest. These kind of things, and people act like exactly that inside your company, inside your teams, when you put them into a survival situation. So they, you think I'm putting them in a survival situation as a leader or a manager if I just tell them deadlines because they obviously survive. The point is that what is projected by a subconscious mind is not really different from a real survival situation because we trigger fears. And as soon as they are there, the fears in themselves are absolute. And that is what we're not relative to the current deadline problem or the current technical implementation problems or outage you have. They are absolute to yourself as a human being in the condition of a human, which means that as soon as you impose fear on someone, it is fear no matter what. And if you do that as a management technique, first of all, you are a bad person. You shouldn't do this. That's not virtuous whatsoever. That is bad, right? And the second is you basically destroy slowly but steadily your team. You grind it down to a point where they cannot do anything anymore. They actually need to leave and recover from working together with you. So if you're a leadership person in between your team and some other upper layer, you need to filter and protect. That is your job. That is the reason you are the leader. And if you just, pass the stress down to the other people unfiltered, you are not worth being called a leadership person. You're just a proxy manager. That's it, right?
Yeah.
Personal opinion about.
Yeah, and if it turns or if stress turns into fear, then a certain area in your brain is activated, and then you have only these survival modes, and they are all the human evolution. They are programmed into our brains, and I think you heard about fight, flies, or freeze. So either you are fighting the threat, or you are fleeing, running away, or you are freezing and doing nothing. And you can. Fun fact, but not so funny, is you can
Not so funny.
explore all that reactions in a typical meeting in a bigger enterprise. So there is fight. So if everybody's confronting each other or whatever, discussing, so not in a productive way, but only finding the negative points on the presentation someone does. You have the freeze mode if some members are sitting in and saying nothing, maybe sometimes waving the head or turning the head or whatever, but no big reactions. And then you can be pretty sure that they are in this freeze mode. And you also see the flight mode if somebody's going to the toilet, and 5 minutes later taking a coffee, and then going out for a telephone chat or whatever. And these are these reactions, or this habits we are programmed since the Stone Age, when we or our ancestors were confronted with tigers or whatever, and they had these three options, and all of them are not so pretty good. And
so if there's a manager to impose all of them in all of your people in one meeting, you have done something wrong, and you should reflect on that. So if people leaving your meeting constantly, if the more influential people constantly ideas, and others are just sitting there in silence or even in shock, can happen as well. So the freeze is not only being quiet, it can only be that can be the worst of that one, because people don't really. The freezing thing is when suddenly a bear is in front of you, then you freeze, right? Because you don't really know what to do. You know it's faster than you. You know it's stronger than you. It's more aggressive than you, and well, it's a little bit like this. And if you're in a meeting and there were these rumors of 10 or 20% of the staff will be laid off soon, right? There's, they're thinking about that, but it is already actually in dry towels. Yeah, and then you get with a specific meeting in a specific style with a specific topic, then you see people freezing. Then you might have caused more damage than absolutely necessary in that moment. And these kind of things, you need to reflect, because calm under pressure is nothing else than self-control. If you can control yourself, you will see these things and you won't act. This is very important. You won't act like this, because it is their reaction, so that your people's reaction, but your actions, which causes the reactions. It is always, causes an action. If someone says something people disagree with and you try to push through, you get a counter reaction. Some people fight, some people fly, some people freeze, right? But if you make that's one of the reasons why if you plan meetings and you want to make, let's say, big announcements or something like that, it makes always sense to prepare and communicate the topic and the context before the meeting already, and involve people before that, and not use the meeting as a big announcement because you were procrastinating and try to avoid postponing that new announcement until this meeting. That's not good. That is bad leadership. You need to announce the actual core topic as soon as possible so people can adapt to it. So then if you have a conversation, no one freezes, no one fights you, but you start to discuss what you can do better about it. It is always this: become aware of your situation, of yourself, of your own feelings, because your own feelings about the topic of layoffs or something like that, is the same as your people have. So if you don't want to be confronted with them, why do you think others can help? So important that we start to reflect on ourselves, especially when you think about Stoicism, which is one of my preferred operating. It's actually my preferred operating system for myself. It is all about yourself, not about anyone else. So only the influence part, that's important. But first of all, it's about yourself. This is what you can do in an ethical way, in a reasonable way, in a wisdom way. So the idea of logos as well, to think logical and reasonable about things which actually happens right now. So if you have a meeting, if you have something where you need to make it together with your team based upon a bad circumstance which will cause stress, then act early and act with wisdom and reason. And empathy, that's part of it as well. So part of ethics. So, don't confront people like they are disposable people. They are part of the team. Involve them as early as possible if you want them to be or take ownership in any form. Because if you don't do that, they won't take ownership. They are just afraid of you. They do whatever is necessary to not get punished. The three major fears we discover is the fear of violence, the fear of losing resources, and the fear of being excluded from a tribe. That is the absolutely main fear of every one of us. And we often manage as bad managers to basically inflict all these fears in one go, right? especially with the fear up front. So there is a meeting next week, or we know there's always something going on. So we have 1 week of everyone filling the gaps in a negative way, and then the meeting comes. They all are afraid already, and you come with another bad story, and they are twice as punished as it needs to be. This is absolutely nonsense. Sorry to say that. I know I'm a little bit confused why so many people don't care at all about their own doing as leaders out there. You should do that.
Yeah, absolutely. So
I quickly need to, because my I need to open my event page because I closed it before I needed to relog. So the run book. We have this topic, that topic, calm under pressure, stoic pressure as a test of self-leadership. So pressure, test of self-leadership. Let's take it from the other side. So when we think of, we have pressure, it is an external thing which is giving. Pressure is not stress. First of all, we learned that already. Stress is the response to pressure in most cases. It's not necessarily a mandatory response. It is just an emotion which comes up, and we can learn how to deal with it. But how is it a test of leadership, especially self-leadership? What do you think?
Yeah, if you have self-leadership is also self-control, and if you get pressure and you have yourself under control, then you will find mechanisms to regulate your system to a, let's say, normal level, and not getting into the trap to be stressed, and your heart rate is going up, you're sweating, you're getting nervous, you're shouting on other people, and these are all these reactions. And there's another topic. If you have a pressure situation, then you are basically falling back onto your level of training, on your let's call it baseline. So all what is trained, what you trained yourself to deal with in situations like that, is then what you can adapt. And the higher your training level is, let's say, more pressure you can handle without getting nervous and without losing your self-control. And
losing it, that's the point. So how can we manage to not lose self-control? Do you have a practical tip? So imagine you are in a situation right now, you feel like you're up because the stress overcomes you. Maybe you might be not in control today, but you are in front of people right now, or you will be in front of people soon, and you need to get back into control. And do you have a specific method you do? So I know that people have different methods to do that, but what is your preferred method to get back into control?
So for me, there are many methods, and I think it's depending on your individual what you like to do, or what is working for you. You have to find out for yourself. I think there are methods that can be practiced in a very short time, and there are other ones which maybe take longer. And so first of all, you have to find your personal indicator that you realize that you are getting nervous, or that you are getting stressed. And if you realize that, then you have to decide. So for example, if it's mid of a business day, or you are, don't know, somewhere on vacation with your family, and something's happening where you have to react. can be the pretty same situation. You're getting stressed, you're getting nervous, and for me, it works that I tell it to myself. So yeah, what's happening now? What are the circumstances? What are the options? And what can we do? And before this, it's also good to step. A step back, for example, and take a few deep breaths, look out of the window, or get a little bit of distraction, or try to get a little bit distraction. Try to calm yourself. In my case, it works pretty good with a calm breathing, so taking deep breaths, because what's also happening when you are getting stressed or when you are getting nervous is that your frequency of breathing is leveling up, and then you don't need to do this deep breath into the stomach. Then you are only breathing flach.
Flat.
Yeah, only flat, and not getting so much O2 inside, and also this is then multiplying your stress. And
you add physical stress to the mental stress, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thanks. And and then if you manage to calm down a little bit, then look at what's happening, what are the options, and what can I do at this moment. And if you have more time, or if you say it's in the evening and you said, oh, this was a stressful day and I'm not so relaxed, so this is also kind of stress, and you have more time, then I think for somebody it works pretty well to go out for a little walk around, going into nature, or talking to somebody, or doing a meditation or whatever. I think there are so many methods, and I think everybody has to find out which works for himself.
Most people I know talk, especially coaches, talk about breathing methods and breathing techniques. I've learned some of them, but I actually don't use it in that situation. I used it to actually get into running. I used them while I was running, and they actually helped me as well to control your breathing while running. That helped me actually in the beginning. Not so necessary today anymore, but it was helping. So I believe that this is a good way to do that. For me, it's the awareness of the intervention, which means that I know that I have two leverages where I can work on. First of all, it is the reflection. It is in the evening to take a look what was going wrong today, and that I prepare myself for the next one already by writing it down, manifesting it, committing myself in the morning to do that. So that's my routine. That helps a lot, because that makes the intervention so much easier if you prime yourself for a specific situation already. And for general agnostic situations, which means that if you are ongoingly get into or in front of people, like streaming, that's my 1000 stream or something like that. I don't like. I commit myself to stay calm if something goes wrong. I commit myself to stay calm if there is some technical issue, or we have maybe not announced the stream or something like that, right? Then just go into that one and just do it. Just go ahead. And if that situation then comes, if that feeling comes, that disappointment that things don't go your way today, then you were prepared already that this would come. And then you say, oh no, I'm reacting to that. I can't. The intervention is very easy. The second lever is the intervention. You can always intervene. Well, it is depending on your preparation, depending on your strength today, on your energy levels today, on your general stress levels and your emotional level. It is sometimes harder, it's sometimes easier, right? But that is my way actually to do that, to practice self-control to a degree that I'm able to see emotions coming, and to deliberately make a choice how to react upon those instead of reacting because of those. That's the main difference for me, and that helps a lot. And sometimes, like, I just leave the room. That happens here and there when things are really bad today, and sometimes really something really annoys me and came very sudden. That happens to me sometimes. People know me that I'm leaving the room and coming back a minute later, and I'm calm again. So it's a little bit like it takes me a short amount of time to sort things out in my brain and get back and remember my personal training. I do literal training for that because I'm a very emotional person. So I need to train for that. So if you know you're a person who is easy to get stressed, easy to make angry, easy to annoy, I repeated myself, then prepare for that. Prepare for the things which will be most likely the issue. I know, for example, that you are very calm. I never saw you angry at all, right? So in the entire stream where we're working together, time where we're working together now, streaming, having conversations, talking about things, you never were annoyed. So extremely calm anyway. It feels, at least from the outside, while I feel much more emotional very often when we talk, and that's something I see, right? And I know that there are people out there you basically cannot annoy whatsoever. There are people out there that you only need to say a trigger word and suddenly you have a argument instead of a conversation. And that's the reason why we cannot change other people. We only can change how we behave and how we react in a specific situation. And if we actually can manage to act instead of reacting. So there is a reaction to an external person, of course, but are we reacting to that? Or are we actually reacting to our emotional circumstances of the feelings we have which come up? And that is so important. I think the underlying issue of self-control, just to give it a practical sense, is that this intervention is something deliberate you do and you train for. It is nothing you do out of thin air. So if you have never trained for an intervention, you will have a hard time doing that, because part of the intervention is the ability to see it coming. So if you don't see it coming, so for example, someone annoys you, there is some employee or your boss, you are a manager and your boss were annoying you or threatening you or whatever, and you are so, I'm mad about this, and now I directly go to my colleague or my person, my direct reports, and I pass that anger down to them. That is so bad in that moment. You shouldn't do this. You should, okay, something is off here with me, not with my boss, probably with my boss as well, but I can't control that. I only can control in the moment that waterfall process down to the people stops with me. But for that, I need to understand that it can stop with me, that it is right now on my position, and that I can do something about it despite the emotions and feelings I feel. And if I ignore that, well, nothing happens. That's the reality. And if I'm not aware of that, I just go and pass it because I want to have a stress relief. So I just do what bad managers do, passing the stress down to people. They should care. They get a salary like me, so why should I care? Let them care. That's bad. That's absolutely bad, unethical. It is not your job to do it like that. You have failed at your job. It's very bad. So instead of doing that, you need to understand. And if that happened, okay, happens. Reflect on that, work on that, and go excuse yourself for the people you have failed. And then make sure next time you don't fail anymore. You can prepare for that. But you need to be able and willing to reflect. I don't understand why people don't reflect. So it's like, in the evening, you need to sit down in the evening. As a leader, you need to do this and think about your day, not about what's on Netflix and do I drink a beer or a cola right now, or a Diet Coke, or that's not your issue in the evening. Your issue was the day. What can you do better tomorrow? If you want to be a social, ethical person, you need to reflect how you were behaving during the day. Was it good? Was it decent? Was it adequate? Were you living up to your own standard and baseline? Were you doing any good? Or were you doing bad things? And do you need to change tomorrow? No one is doing that. And it's like you need to make coaching and trainings that actually get the people to do that. You don't need training for that. You just need to sit down and do it. There are specific methods where you can do it better, but there is no barrier in between you and yourself that you can't reflect about what you have done to other people. That just that's a little bit emotional right now, I know, but I see so much bad things out there, and I just want to do that because now I maybe can influence with what I say right now other people that they think about that.
Yeah.
It is like that.
Yeah, I think, or I often hear, I don't have time for this, don't have time for that, so I don't have time for reflecting or whatever, doing a feedback loop after a meeting or after a project phase. This is simply not the truth, because it's only a matter of prioritization. A friend of mine had a good example, or has a good example. So if you have tomorrow, if you wake up tomorrow with inflammation on on one of your teeth, you definitely have time to visit the doctor or the dentist to get help for that. And so it's only a matter of priorities. And you always have. You should have this 5 minutes or 10 minutes to reflect what was good, what was not so good, what can I improve, what can I learn from that. And remember, I talked about this baseline to what you are falling back under stress, and this regular reflecting always levels up your baseline. And it improves you and your habits, and it makes you, sounds a little bit sophisticated, but it makes you a better human.
It does, of course, it does. So we have a place in society. We have a specific role. So if the role is given to us, or we have made our choices to get into it, doesn't matter in that moment. We have that role, and we can live. We can act in that role as good as possible, and there is never a reason to act against other people, no matter your role right now. So you have always the choice to blame someone. You have always the choice to put the finger on someone or at someone. You have always the choice how you think about someone. This morning I was posting a video about opinions. So we think that what we do inside our head, no one knows about that. That's false. That's absolutely false. If you go for doom scrolling on social media and you consume things you shouldn't consume, you will take that as an opinion, and those opinions will form biases, and those biases will form emotional reactions, and you need to deal with those. And if you already cannot deal with actually taking those in order to deal in general with yourself, because you are not the person who is reflecting, who is not really taking a look at what happens with me, then those things will definitely 100% affect you in not a positive sense. There is not much, to be honest right now, there is not much on the feed which actually helps you as a person. Most of the things in a feed, and that's the reality, is designed to keep your attention. It is not designed to make you a better person. And even if someone is talking about empathy and empathy in leadership, it's not really the target. Sorry that I'm honest right now, but it's part of my story nature, is talking about empathy in leadership is first of all a hook. Because that topic is so deep. The idea that you can post, make one post and everyone is agreeing, and it's so important. First of all, it is much, much, much more than this. And what people do is narrow leadership down to empathy. Very often in an extremely stressful situation, empathy plays a minor role in actually solving the situation without damage to people, personal damage, psychological damage. Sometimes you actually need to take the leadership role when really shit hit the fan scenario happens. Then empathy is just a requirement, not a technique. But if you read that, your opinion forms that empathy is everything. You are kind to everyone. Then people get laid off, and you wonder why the rest of your team doesn't trust you anymore and leaves, and everyone gets stressed, and you have stress. The other people have stress, which left alone by people who left because of you, because you misunderstood empathy, because you have formed a passive opinion about threats you were seeing over and over again, which were designed to actually get your attention, not bringing you any forward. You need to reflect about those things. You need to understand what they mean for you. You need to practice them, put up hypotheses, test them for yourself, and get the opinion about that by yourself, not from others. That is how you train. That is how you go for a championship. You don't train for a championship by watching other people running a marathon. You do it yourself. Sorry, that's important. That's one of I'm a lot myself on social media because I'm trying to do it right. I'm not sure if I'm doing it right. I do all my best to do it in a very honest way. But there must be an awareness. I'm a father, so I want to have the same for my kids and the same for other people, that self-leadership always starts with you. And if everyone on this planet would start to reflect about the own things we do, the own effects we have on others, the own things the things we cause because of our actions, then that world would be much better than it is today. And I think a lot of problems would be basically solved. Most problems would be basically solved by this, and we could focus on the problems, which are actual problems, not man-made social problems we do because of stress, attention, greed, dependencies, those kind of things. There's much going on out there for people who actually don't want to do this, but need to do this because of their external circumstances. And that is where this is just a shout out to do things more in a right way.
Yeah, but I think this requires also clear words, and what can help besides reflection is also to talk to another person, to have a mentor or to look for a mentor or a sparring partner to discuss some of the situations, and then reflect together, or then get this external input to reflect for yourself. And on social media, for especially, but also in let's call it real life, there are so many so-called coaches who say, yeah, you are good like you are, and you have to take care of yourself and but this doesn't improve yourself. So if you have somebody who's only saying, yeah, very good, you did very well, and carry on, what can you do better then? So your example with a marathon, or let's do a skiing instruction. If you manage to go in the pizza style downhill with the skis, you won't get to a parallel turnaround without help from external, without telling somebody, or without having somebody who tells you what you have to improve and what you have to do next. And this is also not, you're riding the pizza style so good, you are good as you are, and one day you will be the best skier on the whole world. And
just
and
repeat the same mistake over and over again.
Yeah.
That's good. Is that we all remember what Einstein said about that. That's madness.
Yeah.
So reflecting is actually a part of the feedback loop process. So if we can't do a feedback loop process without reflecting. So everyone who's talking about, I'm in a loop of feedback and you don't reflect, it's a lie. You are not in a feedback loop. You are just in a loop of repeating all the same things all over again.
And then reflecting without acting is also worth nothing. If it's like getting inspired by something. If you don't adapt this into your habits, then you won't change anything, and you won't improve yourself.
It is that's absolutely true. So this is what I like about Ryan Holiday's works. So his two books he started with is The Obstacle is the Way and Ego is the Enemy, and he actually tattooed it on his arms. He's very much focused on the ethics side of Stoicism, but which is good because I think that's the most important thing to start with. And we were talking about mainly that today. But it is so important to understand the obstacle is the way, is what you just said. You need to act upon something. You need to change something. That's an obstacle. And that causes resistance. That causes fear. That causes you can't do that. You shouldn't do that. Others will laugh at you. That causes the ego to rise. So Stephen Pressfield calls that the resistance. It's the same thing. It is an instance in you which is not you, but it affects you basically all day long. And if you're not aware of that, you think it's your voice. It is not your voice. Marcus Aurelius was making the differentiation already 2,000 years ago, nearly 2,000 years ago, that you have the upper self and the lower self, right? Okay, that is basically a Socratic idea. So one of the original thoughts of philosophy itself, of the human condition. So you have the conscious mind and you have the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind is what you cannot, basically, you don't control it directly. It tries to control you, but you can control yourself, the upper self, how you react to that, right? Which is the reason why you cannot negate what happens or what comes up as an emotion. It will always get up as an emotion. It will always taint your thoughts, but you can keep yourself as clear as possible in that moment. And so basically all of the three I just mentioned, which are well known, I think, talk about the very same thing with different words. And that is what we need to understand. So we see challenges out there. So I personally like to say there's your potential, and you have green signals pointing towards the potential, and there are red signals pointing away from that. For example, in your example with skiing would be a green example would be to talk to someone about what you can improve, what you can do better, right? A red signal is you don't need to do that because it's easier then. Just do your thing. You will become better anyway. It sounds like a signal, a positive signal to your potential, but it is not. It is simple procrastination. It is a signal to stay where you are, to not improve, to save energy, which was cool in Stone Age, to not die, which is bad in modern world to actually achieve something. Because in Maslow's pyramid, the bottom level is fixed. We need to focus on the top level, which was basically upside down back then. And that's the difference between. So take a look for the green signals. And the green signals are almost always obstacles. And Stephen Pressfield, the last thing Stephen Pressfield was pointing it out so good was that basically the more resistance, the more ego comes up towards one thought, the more you know that this is the direction you push towards to. Yeah. I know I need to stop because
this is always the trigger. If it triggers you, then it's pointing on you. Then you should deal with it.
Danielle says, yes, reflection is key. Receive feedback, hope it implement corrective actions and change your approach. Great conversation, guys. Thank you, Danielle.
Thanks.
Good. Any last words?
Yeah, stay calm and carry on.
That's a good thing. I hope everyone, you enjoyed that session. We promised to announce now earlier because I had 2 messages already that why don't you announce? We did announce it, but yesterday night. That's a little bit unfair, I think, when you join the office and, oh, what the fuck is that? And I know that, you can't see events really in your calendar because of LinkedIn. Substack does do it, but LinkedIn not. This is the reason why we manage the event technique from PageBar right now. So you will be able this week to subscribe to whatever we do, and you get notifications when we actually start, and you get notifications which you can basically put directly into your calendar. And in most calendars, it should even pop up as an RSVP event, which you need to confirm, but you see it like a transparent version of that one in Outlook, these kind of things. We are working on that because we know that this is an issue, right? Next week, talking about what we talk about next week.
I don't have the content plan on my screen.
We have discussed it yesterday while driving both. And
but we will announce it in time. And then
we'll announce it. We need to learn and act upon our own mistakes, which was to not be very good in preparation for the stream so far. Thanks anyway for listening. I know many of you, most of you will watch it anyway in hindsight, so kind of a last minute. Always, it's a Minuteman thing, right? So now it's really something we need to learn out of this. So we make mistakes here. We started the stream earlier today, like 10 minutes earlier, and then I dropped off in the moment when it starts because I saw that this is a little bit like, have some kind of preparations you do. Makes absolutely sense. Like if you know you're going for a stream and you know your computer setup does not work right now because of some update, which is in my case, I don't really know what happens. It just breaks down, even though it's a modern Mac. I don't know. So I need to restart maybe before streams until this problem is solved, right? That's a simple thing you can do to not annoy people and not annoy your co-hosts in that moment, right? But anyway,
not getting under pressure yourself.
Exactly. It's not. If you prepare yourself, you need to intervene less yourself to stay calm, right? That's a last resort. The actual intervention is the last resort. You can manage to not have them at all if you do it right, but that is very hard to do actually. So be able and capable of doing both. So I start waffling now. Sorry for that. Thanks everyone, and feel like we are both talking, and Daniel is the only one in the audience watching us. It's a little bit odd, but it's like always on streams. So sometimes people talk, sometimes not. I understand that. Goodbye, everyone.
Thanks.